I was folding laundry when I heard the mail drop. Just a soft thump at the door. Nothing unusual. But that morning, that thump changed everything. There it was. A newspaper, folded in half. I only noticed it because my name was on the front page. Claire Bennett, age 31, beloved daughter remembered fondly. I blinked. A photo, my photo. A smile I barely remembered giving. The headline above it read, "Local family mourns daughter lost too soon." The laundry slipped from my hands. My knees buckled. I had to grip the doorframe to keep from falling. I wasn't dead. I wasn't missing. I was right there, breathing, hurting, still trying to rebuild after everything they did to me. But apparently, now I was also gone. For a few seconds, I thought it had to be a mistake, a misprint, someone with the same name. But the photo, it was the exact one I'd posted years ago on my old Facebook. The obituary listed my birthplace, my high school, my hobbies, baking, piano, hiking. This wasn't a coincidence. This was my family. They declared me dead. It wasn't always like this. Once, we were close. Picture perfect, at least from the outside. Dad ran a contracting business. Mom ran the house. Jake and I, inseparable. Backyard forts until sunset. But when silence is mistaken for peace, you learn to swallow a lot of truth. It all started falling apart after Mom died. A heart attack, sudden and cruel. We all broke in different ways. Dad turned cold, short-tempered, distant. Jake drifted into his own world. I tried to hold us together, thought love would be enough. I was wrong. The night it all unraveled is burned into me. I worked part-time for Dad's company, just invoices and payroll, nothing big, until I saw the discrepancies, thousands missing, again and again. At first, I thought it was a mistake, but it wasn't. Jake was embezzling, quietly, methodically, gambling debts. I didn't go to the police, I went to Dad. He didn't say anything for a long time, just stared. Then finally, "You always were the jealous one." It hit harder than a slap. "You want to ruin your brother for what? Attention?" he said. "We're not family anymore." I begged. I cried. I showed him the proof. He wouldn't look. The next day, I was locked out of the office systems. Then the locks on the house changed. Then came the final blow. He emptied the joint account Mom left us. The one in both our names. Everything she saved for me. Gone. That was the day I stopped being Claire Bennett, daughter and sister. I became Claire Bennett, nobody. They cut me off like surgery, clean and final. Jake wouldn't respond. Dad ignored every call. Relatives went silent. Friends I'd known forever stopped replying. I was erased. So I left. Packed up what little I had, changed my number, moved 3 states over. No social media, no phone calls, just survival. But even in exile, I never imagined this. To open a newspaper and read your own obituary. To see your life written in past tense. It wasn't an accident. It was deliberate. This was war. As I stood in that doorway, fingers trembling on the edge of the page, I realized what I hadn't dared to admit. For years, they didn't just want me forgotten. They wanted me gone, erased. But I wasn't gone, and I sure as hell wasn't done, because if they wanted me dead, they were about to see how alive I really was. The next morning, I sat at my kitchen table. The newspaper still lay in front of me like a crime scene. I hadn't slept. I kept waiting to wake up, waiting for a knock at the door, a call, a message, anything. But no one came. No one called. The world outside just kept going. 1. Strong voice. Claire's inner world is vivid. The emotional shift from confusion to rage to clarity is real, and it's paced beautifully. 2. Organic mystery. Unfolding, the breadcrumbs, the obituary, the painting, the old password failures are placed so naturally. We feel every reveal with her. 3. Themes of power and erasure. The symbolic act of killing her on paper? That's chilling. And it touches on something deep. What? It means to be written out of your own life. 4. Naomi is a standout character. She's the grounding force Claire didn't know she still had. Her presence adds credibility and warmth without softening the stakes. Suggestions. Next steps. Tighten a few places. Some paragraphs could benefit from trimming, just for punch and flow. The emotional pacing is strong, but a touch of conciseness would sharpen the intensity. Clarify timeline slightly. Claire's timeline from being forgotten to realizing she's legally dead is pretty clear, but you might want to make her physical disappearance or separation from the family more explicit, even just in a line. Why did they think they could get away with this? Or why wasn't she in contact with anyone? Lawyer scene continuation. The cliffhanger is great, but you left off mid-sentence with, depending on rewrite. What was she about to say? You've built all this momentum. Let it land hard with something like, and depending on the timeline, it could be attempted grand larceny, or worse. You're not just reclaiming your name, Claire. You're about to ruin theirs. Questions for you. Are you planning this as a novel, a short story, or maybe even a script? Want help expanding this into chapters or story beats? Would you like a suggested title? The motif of buried is incredibly effective, first used as trauma, then transformed into power. That's powerful character work. The build-up to the memorial scene is masterful. You give us time to feel Claire's resolve and preparation, making the payoff of her entrance even stronger. The scent of lilies and lies. What a line. Poetry and punch in one. My entrance felt operatic, like a ghost walking into her own funeral to reclaim the story. Bold, dramatic, earned, me standing there, breathing. 23:52, heart pounding, eyes clear. I took off my sunglasses and looked straight at the man who signed my death certificate. Hello, I said. My voice was calm, steady. My name is Claire Bennett, and I'm not dead. A gasp from the back. A phone clicked on. Red light blinking. Good. Let the world see. My father's jaw clenched. Jake sat down hard, like the air had been knocked out of him. I know what you were told, I said. That I died peacefully. That I battled depression. That I faded away in silence. I scanned the room. That was a lie. I pulled a thick envelope from my coat. Sealed, stamped. These are my passport stamps, my tax filings, my employment records, lease agreements. I've been alive, working, paying bills, surviving for 5 years. The priest took a step back from the podium, as if he'd just realized he was part of a fraud. I wasn't missing. I wasn't unreachable. I was erased. I turned to my father. You filed the death certificate. You declared me dead to the state. Then to Jake. And you, I pointed, you accepted money from my estate. You took what was mine. Jake stood, fists clenched. Claire, we thought... No, I cut in. You knew. You knew exactly where I was. You just didn't care. Another phone lifted. A whisper. She's got evidence. A ripple of murmurs moved through the chapel. I turned to the rest of the room. You didn't come here to say goodbye to a daughter. You came here to bury the truth. I paused. Let silence settle. Let it sting. I already buried the version of me who begged to be heard, who waited for a call, who thought family meant loyalty, that Claire is gone. I pointed to myself. This Claire is done being quiet. I reached back into my coat and pulled out a second envelope. This is a court order, filed yesterday. A motion to revoke the fraudulent death certificate. and open an investigation into identity theft, forgery, and inheritance fraud. Jake turned white. My father shrank into the pew. I dropped the envelope on the podium. It hit with a thud. The chapel echoed. "And one more thing," I said, looking up at the portrait behind me. "You can keep your fake eulogies, your flowers, but you don't get to write my ending." I turned, walked down the aisle, out into the daylight, leaving behind a room full of ghosts pretending to grieve. The bells of St. Martin's rang. How fitting. A funeral bell. But this time, not for me. The aftermath, by Monday, the footage, went viral. TikTok, Facebook, local news. Woman declared dead walks into her own funeral with evidence of fraud. Someone had filmed the whole thing. My walk, the gasp, the silence. Posted it with a single caption. "She's not dead." They just wanted her gone. It exploded overnight. I didn't expect strangers to care, but there's something universal about betrayal, about being erased by the people who were supposed to love you. By the time I walked into Dana Shaw's office again, the court had already set an expedited hearing. Public pressure helped, but so did the evidence. Proof of life, bank records, transfer logs, the missing will, Naomi's original draft. "This is airtight," Dana said. "But are you ready for what comes next?" I nodded, even though I wasn't sure. "Your father and brother will come for you. Not physically, but with spin. They'll say you lied, that you ran away, that you're after money." I didn't flinch. "Let them talk," I said. "I've got the truth." She nodded. And now, so does the law. The courtroom cold, clinical. Nothing like the church. No candles, no flowers, just facts. Jake and my father sat across from me, stiff and silent. "Miss Bennett." The judge said, "Can you confirm under oath that you are Claire Bennett, born July 3rd, 1991? "I can," I said, "and I am. And that you are, in fact, alive?" "Yes, Your Honor. I've never been more alive in my life." A beat. Then, "Let the record reflect that the death certificate for Claire Bennett is hereby revoked. Legal identity restored." I exhaled, but only slightly. This was just the beginning. The consequences. They claimed it was a mistake, filed in grief. But the paper trail told another story. Lease agreements, employer testimony, passport stamps. The transfer of funds happened just 3 weeks after they filed my death certificate. Not grief. Greed. The court ruled in my favor. Frozen accounts, funds returned, criminal investigation launched. I didn't smile. Justice doesn't always look like fireworks. Sometimes it looks like silence on the other side of the room. Aftermath weeks passed. The news cycle moved on. But everything had changed. My trust, reinstated. Death certificate, expunged. Name, restored. I visited my childhood home, now under investigation. I didn't go in, just stood at the edge of the driveway. It looked smaller than I remembered. Darker. They were gone. Jake, my father, awaiting court dates, maybe even jail, but I wasn't there to gloat. I was there to say goodbye. Because I wasn't going back. Not to them. Not to the ghost they tried to make of me. Epilogue. A month later, Naomi and I sat in her flower shop sipping tea. For the first time in years, I felt safe. "Do you regret it?" she asked quietly. "Coming back?" I looked out the window. People walking, cars passing, life moving on. "I don't regret the truth," I said, "even when it hurt, even when it broke me." She smiled. "They thought they were burying you," she said. But they didn't. No, they were planting something stronger. I smiled back. "They don't get to define me anymore," I said. "I'm not the story they wrote. I'm the one I'm writing."